now we're going to move into 4.2.4, which is the modeling of a cam. Now, before we actually model this cam in Inventor, going to do a little quick background on what a cam is. So a cam is typically kind of this odd looking shape, and what it's doing is it's taking a rotary motion and transferring it into a linear motion. So this yellow object, let me go back a little bit here, this yellow object is the cam, and we call this the cam follower. So the cam follower is always in contact with the cam as it's moving, and then it's going to move the cam follower as it follows along that shape. So let's take a little bit better look at where this cam is rotating. The follower here is rotating with it, which is then transferring that to this arm, which is creating a linear motion. And they use this a lot in the mechanical industry to achieve different mechanical operations. The other thing that you're going to notice in our design is this little thing in the middle, and it's a little square hole. Now that square hole is called a keyway, and what a keyway is something's going to go inside of that. For example, like a square peg. So that way, when that square peg turns, the cam will turn with it, and then the follower will rotate along the cam. All right, so that's a little bit of background information on the cam. Let's go ahead and model this thing in Inventor. And before we go ahead and do that, here's the finished product. I need you to do a File New, Standard Inch IPT, and then the first thing you're going to do is a Save As. And what you'll need to do is navigate to this PC, scroll down, go to our V drive, so find the V drive, go into your V drive, into where all of your Inventor folders are, and you're going to make a new folder for 4.2.3. So make a new folder, and then after you make that folder, double click into it and rename the file 4.2.4 cam. Okay, so now you're saving it into a new folder that you're going to have to make inside of your Inventor folder, and then you're going to go ahead and name the file 4.2.4, and it should go into that new folder. Alright, so after you have done that, we're going to start with the front view. So we'll start with the Start 2D Sketch up here. And we're going to click on the XY plane, which is your front view. And we're going to start drawing this thing. Now, to draw this, we're going to do things a little bit differently. In this one, I'm going to introduce something called constraints to you, which is in the constraint panel. Now, constraints help fully constrain a sketch without maybe adding in dimensions. So you can constrain things maybe linearly or vertically, horizontally, making things equal. So I'm going to show you a few constraints and show you how they work. So that's something new you're going to learn in this video. To start out, we're going to draw this circle here. Zoom out a little bit, which has a radius of 1.25. Now, remember we always start at 0, 0, so that center of the circle is going to be at our 0, 0. So I'm going to go circle, left click here at 0, 0, move my mouse. Now notice that the dotted line is going from one end of the circle to the other, so we are inserting diameter, not radius. So we need to take the 1.25 and times it by 2, which will give you 2.5. So I'm going to type in 2.5 and then hit enter. I'm going to zoom out. Now I'm still in the circle tool, which is fine. I want to be in it. Now this is where you're just going to draw a circle any size over here. So just do that for me. Left click once, and actually no, not any size. I take that back. It is going to be a radius of 0.5. But remember, we have diameter right now, so I'm going to type in 1. So 1, enter. So all I did was I drew a 1-inch circle somewhere up over here. Doesn't matter where, just that it is a 1-inch diameter. So now what I'm going to show you is how to constrain this circle, the circle's center, to the y-axis. So to do that, we're going to use something called a vertical constraint. So I'm going to click on the vertical constraint, and if you notice, it kind of gives you a little bit of a synopsis of what it does. So I'm going to click on that. Then I'm going to click the center of the circle, and then I'm going to click on the center of this circle. So what it did was it constrained the centers vertically together. So now they are both vertically aligned. So if I try and click and move this circle, let me hit escape, it's not going to let me move it right now because it is constrained vertically to this circle. But notice that it's still green because I need a height dimension. I need to know how far is it from the center of this circle to this circle. Well, that dimension is going to be 1.75. From center to center is 1.75. So I'm going to go dimension. I'm going to click on the center of this circle, and then I'm going to click on the center of this circle, and I'm going to add in that 1.75 dimension. So 1.75, enter. So now notice that I am fully, I'm going to hit escape, just kind of move this out, move this up here, just so that way we can see this a little bit easier. I'm fully constrained, but I'm still missing some things for my sketch. I have the two circles down here and over here, but now I need to draw these lines. Now these lines, if you read the directions down here, it told you, hey, you should use some geometric constraints, specifically a tangent constraint. So what I'm going to do simply is just draw some lines. Now, when I draw these, I'm not too worried about where they're at. I just need to make sure that they're snapping to the circle. So I'm going to just hover over the edge of the circle, and you kind of see it snap to the circle. So I'm just going to click somewhere on the edge of the circle here, and then I'm just going to come over here and click somewhere on the edge of this circle. Alright, so I did that one. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So line tool, I'm going to just click somewhere on the edge of that circle, and then somewhere on the edge of this circle, and I'm going to hit escape. Now, we got the lines there, but the problem is that they're not tangent. So remember, tangent means that that line is just going to hit the edge of that circle. It's not going to intersect it like you see there. So to do this, we're going to use a tangent constraint. So all you have to do is click tangent. Now we're going to have to do this 4 times. I'm going to click the circle, and then I'm going to click the line. I'm going to do that again. Click the circle, click the line. Notice that the tangent symbol is popping up, and it became purple. I'm going to do that again over here. Click the circle, click the line. Now that's tangent. Click the circle, click the line. Now that is tangent. I have a fully constrained sketch. The only other thing I want to do is trim out the interior here and then the interior right here. So to do that, I'm going to go up and use the trim tool. Remember that the keyboard shortcut is X. So I'm going to go trim. I'm going to click on this side to get rid of that. I'm going to click on that side to get rid of that. Now I'm going to click on this to get rid of this. So 3 clicks to trim all that. Hit escape to get out of the trim tool. And a fully constrained sketch. So again, quick review. Drew the circle with the diameter. Drew another circle with that diameter. Did a vertical constraint from center to center to align those circles. Then we did a line here from the one circle to the other circle. Same thing over here. And then we used the tangent constraint to lock those lines down and to create that tangency between those shapes. And finally, we trimmed it out. So I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. And now we need to extrude. So what is the depth of that thing? It is 0.125. So I'm going to go Extrude. I'm going to go the other way, 0.125, and say OK. So we have the overall shape, we're just missing the keyway. So that was all additive modeling. So now we're going to do subtractive. And we're going to use some more constraints now to do this keyway, which is pretty much just a square cutout right in the middle. Notice that it is centered right at the center mark of this circle, which is actually our 0, 0. And that little keyway is 0.125 in height and 0.125 in width. So I'm going to go new 2D sketch on this face. Notice that 0, 0 is coming into play, so it's really nice that we started this circle at 0, 0 because that's where this square keyhole is going to be aligned to. So I'm going to go rectangle, and I'm simply just going to left click up here in this area, and I'm going to move my mouse and just create a little rectangle with the 0, 0 kind of in the middle of it. I'm going to hit escape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to align a midpoint. What the heck's a midpoint? A midpoint is the middle of this line to my 0, 0. And then I'm going to align the midpoint of this line to my 0, 0. So what that's going to do is it's going to lock in the position of that rectangle so it's centered right on the 0, 0 because I snapped it to the midpoint. So let's do that first. So I'm going to do a vertical constraint from the midpoint. Now to find the midpoint, I need to zoom in to make sure I'm seeing this okay. I need to snap, there's the green dot, that is my midpoint. So I'm going to first click that, and then I'm going to click the 0, 0. Notice that it aligned the midpoint to my 0, 0. Next I'm going to do a horizontal constraint from the midpoint, now you got to zoom in again, from the midpoint of this line. So I'm going to left click that midpoint right there, and then I'm going to left click the center. So now notice that that is now centered right there. Okay, so this rectangle is locked in position, but the problem is, notice how it's staying right where it should. But the problem is the size. So I have the location locked down, but the size is not. So I need to add in some dimensions. So I'm going to kind of just size this down a little bit. And then let's add in some 2 dimensions. Remember, it's 0.125 by 0.125. So I'm going to dimension this, 0.125, enter, and then dimension this, 0.125, enter, finish the sketch. And now I have my keyway. I just need to cut it out, cut, and I'm going to do a distance of all to go all the way through, and then say OK. I'm going to orbit around. You can see that now is now you have the keyway. So now you can go ahead and save. Windows Shift S, screen clip, make sure you get the model browser in there so I can see that, and insert that into your 4.2.4 CAM page in your OneNote binder.